What was your first car? Comment below. And was it a Honda? Was it a Civic or an Accord from the 90s? Do you still have it? Does anybody still have their first car? I'd love to know. Comment below. VTEC, baby. We're not necessarily talking about car enthusiasts today, strictly car enthusiasts. I'm just talking about Gen Xers, Xennials, guys and girls that got their driver's license in the 90s. Power windows that always work. I mean, you gotta love that. You gotta love power windows that always work, even after 20 or 30 years. No problems ever. And the same thing goes for the sunroof. Always works. Simple design, never breaks, never leaks. Always thought that was cool when I was a kid. You gotta love it. Buttons on the steering wheel are simple and easy to use. Visibility is great. No problems with visibility. Everything is simple. Simple automatic transmission, cup holders, storage, climate control, everything's simple and easy to use. Functional knobs, nothing ever breaks. At least that's how it used to be. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk about Hondas today. Big surprise, huh? Big surprise. Why is it that so many Xennials or late Gen Xers and early millennials love Hondas, especially Hondas from the 90s? The golden days. So imagine getting your driver's license in the mid 1990s and you're driving a car left over from the malaise era. The headliner's falling down, the power windows don't work, nothing works, everything breaks, it doesn't handle well, it doesn't drive well, it's not fun, it doesn't look that great. This guy is way on my ass here. With the handicap sticker. Anyway, then you get your first Honda in the 90s. Maybe it was a 5th or 6th generation Civic, or 4th or 5th generation Accord, 6th generation Accord even, which came later in the late 90s. And everything just felt right. The fit and the finish, the visibility, the performance, everything works. The power windows, the radio, the sunroof, everything always worked. You got good gas mileage. Maybe it wasn't the fastest car, but it was fun to drive. It was somewhat sporty. You had a high revving VTEC motor that maybe didn't make a lot of power. Maybe it only made 130 horsepower. Everything made sense and everything always did what it was supposed to do. My first Honda was a 1997 Honda Civic EX. 5-speed manual. It was my first manual car, and I drove that car. I bought it used in I want to say late 98 or early 99. I was pretty young, 19, 20 years old. And I drove that car for 277,000 miles. The only thing I had to do was change the timing belt. You have to change the timing belt and the water pump regularly. Basic maintenance, oil changes, brakes. I had the original clutch. The clutch lasted the entire time and it was still fine. I had a long commute in those days. I want to say 120, 130 miles round trip for about 3 years. And I was always on the go. I was a kid, always wanted to be going places, seeing things, doing things. I still do. I mean, it was reliable. It was always reliable. I did have to replace some of the bushings. Been a while since I've owned it. I owned it from 99 until 2006 or 7. So I had it a good long time. Bought it from one of my dad's co-workers. I want to say I paid $10,000 for it in 99. It was immaculate. It did have some miles. It had 66,000. But I mean, it was immaculate. It was a 5-speed EX coupe, which is what I wanted. I definitely got my money's worth out of that car. And it was fun to drive. It wasn't fast. It would be slow by today's standards, but I got my money's worth out of that car. And those Civics looked good. Those Accords from that era looked good. They just did everything well. They did everything that the Malaise era cars, the American cars, didn't do. They didn't make the torque. They didn't have the power, but they felt a lot better. They were much more refined, and they were cool. They were really cool cars. So the Hondas and the Toyotas were cars that those of us that are Gen Xers, late Gen Xers, Xennials got. When you got your first nice car in the 90s, it was probably a Honda or a Toyota. And no, it wasn't a BMW, it wasn't a Mercedes, but it was nice, it was clean, it started up each and every time, it would never leave you stranded. It did everything that it was supposed to do. Those cars had really good looks from the 90s. They were great looking cars. I don't know that I can say the same about Japanese cars now. A lot of them have gotten the angles are too harsh, and the grills can be kind of bizarre on some of the cars now. Those cars had looks kind of like the German cars did, the 6th generation Civic. I mean, for what it was. Haven't been down this road in a minute. I forgot about these turns. The SUVs hadn't taken over yet. Everybody was driving sedans and compact cars. And the American cars just weren't as good. The sports cars, the muscle cars were cool, don't get me wrong. And the Americans make great trucks. But when it came to basic sedans and coupes, you just could not compete. They could not compete with the Hondas and the Toyotas. And the people that don't get the Hondas haven't lived with one and driven one. And I'm specifically talking about the 90s Hondas. Because it is a good feeling to have a car that always starts up and always does what you want it to do. That's cheap to insure, that gets good mileage, that you can drive for a long, long time and never have any problems. It is a wonderful feeling. And I think a lot of people don't get that. They're caught up in the image. Oh, I don't want to drive a Honda. Some of the older boomers are pro-American, die-hard, buy American, and that's because they were children of parents that had to fight in World War II, and not to get into that, but there's a lot of reason for boomers being die-hard, buy American. And that was also a time when American cars were made in America, which they're not really anymore. Got some road work up here. What's going on up here? Trees. We're not necessarily talking about car enthusiasts today, strictly car enthusiasts. I'm just talking about Gen Xers, Xennials, guys and girls that got their driver's license in the 90s. Because we get into the tuner scene, that's something different, or racing cars, performance cars, we're not talking about that. Just people getting their first nice car in the 1990s. And for many people, that was a Honda, that was a Civic, that was an Accord. What was your first car? Comment below. And was it a Honda? Was it a Civic or an Accord from the 90s? Do you still have it? Does anybody still have their first car? I'd love to know. Comment below. And the 1990s were great. I mean, music was amazing. Everything was just more laid back. People weren't as sensitive and uptight as they are today. It was just a different world, man. It's a different world, and everyone wasn't driving SUVs yet, so that was nice. There were still a lot of cars that came with manual transmissions. This guy's gonna pull right up and I can't see around him. Oh, VTEC, baby. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Functional knobs. Nothing ever breaks.